First, let's turn it over to Alex Hogan with the latest out of the Middle East. Alex.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. So President Donald Trump says that the U.S. will start blocking passage through the Strait of Hormuz. He spoke about the new timeline of this operation when he was returning to the Capitol last night.
I would say it's holding well. Their military is destroyed. Their whole Navy is underwater. You know that. 158 ships are gone. Their Navy's gone. Most of their mine droppers are gone. We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil, and that will be very effective.
The president says the U.S. will also sweep the critical waterway of mines. U.S. Central Command explaining this weekend, quote, the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM forces will not impede freedom or navigation of vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. So 20 to 30% of the world's daily oil consumption passes through this strait, and Iran says that it's still in control. Quote, contrary to the false claims of certain enemy officials, the Strait of Hormuz is open for the passage of non-military vessels under smart control and management in accordance with specific regulation. So disagreements there after talks also stalled just a day earlier. 21 hours of negotiations this weekend ended with no deal, and the U.S. delegation is now returning home. Wall Street Journal reporting this weekend, quote, regional countries are racing to bring the U.S. and Iran back to the negotiating table. A second round of talks could be held within days. That's according to one official. Vice President J.D. Vance presented a final offer to Iran, which included things, red lines, like ending uranium enrichment, ending funding to groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and fully opening that strait with no more tolls. Guys, back to you.
All right, Alex Hogan, live for us in Washington. Alex, thank you. Let's bring in retired Navy SEAL and host of the Everyday Warrior podcast, Mike Sarelli. Mike, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. So this naval blockade begins at 10 a.m. today. The goal is, of course, to make sure that Iran doesn't profit off of controlling the strait by collecting these tolls. So what's it going to take to secure this waterway?
Well, Carly, I think Trump is doing this smart. He's essentially making the Strait of Hormuz the center of gravity for any future operations. But I mean, you're talking about mine countermeasures. You're talking about persistent maritime patrols, similar to what we saw in Venezuela, because the biggest threat are the IRGC fast boats, which were built for maritime harassment. But you're going to see a lot of assets move into the region, both surface and subsurface, or submarines, to detect these IRGC fast boats. And then, of course, convoys, escorted convoys as well for those ships visiting non-Iranian ports.
And separately, there is also an effort to remove the mines Iran dropped in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump talked about that with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
So we have minesweepers there now. We have highly sophisticated underwater minesweepers, which are the latest and the greatest, but we're also bringing in more traditional minesweepers. And so I understand is the UK and a couple of other countries are sending minesweepers. A lot of countries don't have minesweepers.
Can you tell us technically, Mike, a little bit more about what would go into demining the Strait of Hormuz, how easy or dangerous an operation this could be?
Yeah, definitely not easy operations. And the biggest threat, we've known that Iran has always had a large mining capability. So it's a combination of both subsurface and surface detection. And then once detected, you've got to remove or destroy the mine in place. And so that is a lengthy operation, guys. Think about trying to find a needle in a haystack. That is a large area to cover. It will take some time, but the U.S. alongside our NATO allies, which I'm glad they finally found a spine and a map to assist us. It is going to be a lengthy operation, but one that can be done.
Okay, so there's also reports that China may have sent a shipment of shoulder-fire missiles to Iran, although the intel on that is not definitive. The president also spoke about that yesterday with Maria, said that if that's true, a 50% tariff will be issued against China and any country that helps Iran. But when it comes to the weapon itself, the shoulder-fire missile, how important is that for Iran to have?
It's extremely important. I mean, because we've degraded their anti-aircraft capabilities. And guys, there was a lot of indications that it was a shoulder fired weapon that took down the jet over southwest Iran. So they are a danger. They are a threat, especially for low-flying aircraft. But if this is what China is doing, and Intel will corroborate and confirm if that is the truth, it's actually not in their interest. They're the ones affected most by the seizure or the hesitation and delay in the Strait of Hormuz. They need oil worse than we do, as 70% of their oil comes from this region. So to escalate the war into aid Iran actually is counter to their benefit.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And, you know, Iran said that it would view any entry of military vessels into the strait or near it as a breach of the 2-week ceasefire and will respond accordingly. So if fighting does resume, Mike, what will that look like?
So again, back to my point, with Trump making the Strait of Hormuz the center of gravity, it's almost like Iran has a choose its own adventure. If you continue to conduct attacks, not only are we going to take out your coastal defenses, your offensive capabilities, we're going to destroy your fast attacks, but you will see an escalation of strikes. I think what the U.S.'s focus is going to be on globally is the Strait of Hormuz. I think Israel will keep the kill chain operations warm and continue to strike select IRGC leadership or targets. This war is not over by any means. And I don't have much faith that a second round of talks with Iran coming in with their fanatical, unrealistic view of the situation and the world, those are most likely to fail as well. So this may go on for a few more weeks as we continue to eradicate this regime.
Yeah, and President Trump yesterday says that he believes when it comes to diplomacy that Iran will ultimately agree to give up their nuclear ambitions. They haven't so far. Maybe it will only be a matter of time if we continue to put pressure on them militarily, but we will be watching and waiting to see how this all unfolds. Mike, thank you so much for joining us once again this morning. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Carla.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.